Yeah. Let me drop exclusive game from my exclusive mind. You be out here chasing fame, I stay steady on my grind. Zero diamonds, zero.
Thank you for tapping into the Exclusive Minds podcast. Today we're going to be having an exclusive conversation with exclusive content from Exclusive Minds. I'm your host, Rook, and
Joe?
let's get right into it.
Yo. Welcome back to... Oh, this is episode 50.
Jeez.
You know what? And it's kind of an anticlimactic 50 because I guess we were originally going to do 50 with the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We were all ready to go, and then, of course, the Eagles lost, and all the energy just sucked out of the room, and
Yeah.
we didn't do it.
It's crazy. That's actually, it was the Super Bowl that we were supposed to do it.
Yeah, we just... Oh, I didn't even think about it.
I remember, Joe, you came over there and you're like, let's do it. But it was just like, I feel like it was like really chaotic for like the first half of the game.
Yeah.
And then the half when he, like, because Patrick Mahomes was like out at the halftime with like, he was like limping a little bit. Then he just came back. And at that point, we could kind of see that the tides were turning right around when we went for the field goal versus like actually going for a touchdown. And it was like, all right, this is looking bad. It was still overall a really good game, though. I really enjoyed that. I think that was probably the best Super Bowl I've ever seen in my lifetime.
I mean, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl was probably the most
yeah.
amazing game I've ever seen.
That was okay. So that was the best one. But I'm saying as
and not
far
because
as
the
like
Eagles won, just because that game was freaking crazy.
yeah, like being the underdogs and everything, like that whole storyline.
Yeah, and I mean the trick play and just, I mean it was very similar. I mean it was kind of like back and forth, right? Whoever had the ball last was going to win the game, sort of thing. Which is kind of how this one sort of turned out. I mean we probably don't need to self-litigate the penalty call and all this stuff. It's been obviously done
A million times.
But yeah, it was amazingly disappointing as a Phillies fan and or Eagles fan, and it sucked. So.
Yeah, I kept watching that play over again. I was like, well, would this penalty have really made the difference for the game? And everyone on the Eagles even said it. They're like, yeah, one penalty doesn't make the game. It's
no,
like everything
but
that
it would have at least given them
give them the try to go score.
It would have made for a much more entertaining end to a game than what
it was
ended
awesome
up being, right? So I mean,
that was a fantastic game. I think the thing that really pissed me off though is on that same exact play, there was a guy face masking one of the Eagles players literally in the replay. So they just kind of voided that and then just kind of focused on the hand holding call, which was kind of bullshit. But
happens all the time.
One thing that I actually did kind of pick up the past couple days, I don't know if you're aware of the other league called the XFL. Rock is a partner in it.
Yes, they just kicked off.
They just kicked it off
this weekend, I guess.
Friday, Saturday. I don't know if they did anything. Oh, they did do. I don't know if they're gonna do anything today. I don't know, but it was definitely Friday and Saturday. It was super cool though. It's like it has that college type of theme to it, where it's like fast paced. They're throwing the ball like 30 yards on every single like completion. It's super cool. It's super fast paced, and I think they have an agreement with the NFL, which is cool. Where it's like that's like the testing league, so they're trying a bunch of new rules. Like there was a rule where on it was. They were down like a touchdown and some change. So he went for a 3-point conversion, which was so they start at the I think 15-yard line instead of like if you were to go for a 2-point, it's on like the 10 or the 5. And he ended up getting the 3-point, and then they opted in for something where instead of an onside kick, they go for a
fourth and 15 from their own 20-yard line
so
or something like that.
It's all or nothing stakes, which is pretty cool to see. And then they also had one more thing that it really stood out was on the kick return, the players don't run full speed down the field. Both opposing guys, like 5 on this side, 5 on this side, they stand in the middle, and then the guy receiving the ball has a chance to actually run and then get some yardage before the guys can actually move. So they have to wait. They're in the middle. They're on the 50-yard line. They're waiting. The guy receives the ball, and then they can start running.
Huh.
So it's an interesting take, and it actually kind of makes sense, too, because you would think that that's how it should be, considering, like, I feel like a lot of injuries would happen on those punt returns when a guy's going, like, full speed. I've even seen it this year with the Eagles. Like, people will, like, throw their hands up. They won't see it, and then they'll just, like, end up getting hit or some stupid mistake. So a couple of cool rules you can see there, and they're what do you call those? The replay system's actually very, very interesting as well. So a couple of cool stuff you could see coming out of the XFL. I was just looking for something to watch. I'm like, oh, the NFL's done. Like I need something else to do. So.
Yeah, there's not a lot on.
Yeah, exactly. And then the dunk contest was on, but I'm not a huge basketball guy.
No,
so
I'm not a basketball guy either.
That was kind of It is what it is. But how was your week? I know you had a trip down to New York City. You were flexing on me in the Empire State Building.
Yeah, the Starbucks Reserve, I guess, is brand new in the Empire State Building. It was funny because we got there and there was nobody there. It was empty.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. So, I mean, New York in general, there are a lot less people. I mean, it's really kind of surreal, actually. I mean, you hear all the horror stories, and I'm sure it's that they're obviously all real. Obviously I didn't see any of it, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. There's a lot less people. It definitely has a different vibe. I don't want to say it's like dirtier. It's just weird. It's just kind of weird.
Well, we went down closer to it was right before Christmas, after Thanksgiving time, in that kind of weird. I think it was right in that ballpark, and it seemed super busy. Now I could be because of the time that we were there, the places that we were at, because it was my girlfriend's first time going there, my friend's first time, so we were hitting all the touristy spots and everything like that. But
yeah, well, we even had to. We had a meeting down at the World Trade Center.
Oh, really?
World Trade Center 3, which is right across the street from the memorial.
Yeah.
And one of the guys we were with had never seen the memorial, and we're like, yeah, it's right there. You can see it, but, typically you can't get close because there's just a billion people there.
A lot of people, right?
There was nobody down there.
Wow.
I mean, he walked right up to the edge and kind of looked over and kind of enjoyed it. There was a line to get into some of the museums that were still there, but not like anything that I had seen before. So even down there, I think the allure is kind of, I don't know if the allure has faded or time has kind of healed wounds or whatever it is, but there weren't a lot of people down there either. Even the Oculus was kind of just, there was people there. I mean, there's still a lot of people, but not like it used to be, which was kind of refreshing because I hate crowds, right? I can't stand people.
Yeah.
so I mean, it was kind of refreshing from that perspective that there just weren't a lot of people around. But we went to dinner. We went to a steak place that typically would be pretty hard to get into, and we had no problems getting like a 7:30 reservation.
Wait, can we talk about that for a second? What? So you kind of talked about it for a brief second, but what is it about the crowds in general? For me, it's personally, I just feel claustrophobic. What's it for you that you don't like about those large gatherings of people?
I mean, it's that. I guess it's just like the Amazon effect where, I don't want to stand in line for anything. And I don't know. I don't like crowds. Yeah. I mean, no, the noise. So one of the other things is, I guess, as I'm getting older, right?
The noise temperature.
I have this. So I have I don't know if it's tinnitus, but I have this sensitivity to loud noises. I think it's partly because I can't hear shit anymore, right? So if I get into a bar or a restaurant that's noisy, I have a very hard time in conversations just kind of hearing the full. I hear parts of it, right? So I'm shaking my head, and half the times I can't even hear what the hell's going on, which sucks. And it was compounded at this steak place we went to. It was fucking awful. Pardon my French, but I mean, there was a table of 8 people behind us that were just super rowdy and noisy.
Okay,
not cursing, not totally obnoxious, but just loud. And I couldn't hear a goddamn thing. So, I mean, I'm having my dinner and I'm just, all I can hear is my ears ringing and stuff like that. So it's those kinds of things that drive me crazy. And, it was funny because the dinner thing was just over the top, loud and noisy and crowded and cramped. And the Starbucks thing, we actually went in the morning for breakfast. Had to make a reservation. They have you've been to the one down in Chelsea, right? But this one, I think it's 2 stories, right? The lower story is kind of, you just walk in and you can order the danishes and the coffees and stuff like that. The second floor is literally a full-blown restaurant where you have to make reservations. And so we made a reservation for 9 a.m., got there. It's a very limited breakfast menu.
That's how those places are. I feel like it's it's like a 1-page.
Yeah, but I
thing,
mean, but at least you have a table and you know you're going to sit down. So we got there at 9 o'clock and we were the only ones there. We were in this entire second floor and we were the only ones there until probably about 10 a.m.
Damn.
It was crazy. It was actually great, right? So we're sitting right on the corner overlooking Fifth Avenue and having just kind of a casual breakfast. It was funny. There was 3 of us, 4. So we ordered breakfast, which was, for me, it was like a bowl of chai yogurt. The other guys had avocado toast with egg.
That's good.
They had a couple flights of nitro coffee or cold brew coffee. I just had a straight up cold brew.
Yeah.
And then I think we reloaded on the coffees, and out the door it was $165
For 4 people?
for
Holy shit.
3, really. And the
3.
fourth guy didn't really show up until the end. So
Jeez, man. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Like, I told you that we went to the one in Chelsea, and I bought that bag of coffee this big.
yeah, well, that's a
It was like,
special
yeah,
coffee. But
$45,
Yeah.
man, or $44 or something
well,
like
so
that.
2 of the guys ordered a glass of that whiskey coffee.
They like it or not like it?
And each glass was
Let me guess.
$12.
I was going to say 16. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not much bigger than our little 12-ounce, coffee that we have here, right?
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, it's cool. They do it with the whiskey ice cube,
Yep.
the big square ice cube, and
What'd they think about it?
well, they've had it before. So I mean,
okay.
the
They
one
ordered
guy,
it, yeah.
the one guy had ordered or had bought a pound of the coffee for like $80 and tried to do it at home, and
Didn't come out good.
he said he didn't think it was the same, and it didn't come out the same for him.
Yeah, I mean, when I did it, it was like, it was okay. Like, it definitely tasted different, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
the coffee that I got here. It was good though. I don't think I would buy a bag of it again, or maybe if I did, I would give it as like a cool
You do it
gift,
as
like a
once in
novelty.
yeah,
It
it was cool. I know you brought me over some the one
Yeah, I
after you
did.
did it, and you could taste it still. But
Yeah.
I'm not a big whiskey guy, so I just I kind of went with I think my first drink there was the mocha. They have the nitro cold brew
Taylor
with
got the mocha one.
chocolate foam and stuff like that, which is super good. But I mean, it's a great place to kind of just casually get together and hang out with customers and stuff like that. So I mean, it was kind of perfect for that, and it was quiet.
It was definitely an experience. Like, that whole coffee thing, I could sit there for hours.
Yeah.
I love the coffee stuff. Unfortunately, it was closed though. The bottom part where like you get the flight and everything was closed, so we had to just.
Oh, down in Chelsea when you were there. That's
yeah.
weird.
So we didn't get them that. We couldn't give them like that whole experience, but like they still like were making drinks for takeout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, dude, I feel like coffee's like such like a perfect thing to. Even the other day, like I remember the place in Oxford. I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, but an old friend of mine from high school, we just like met up, and I was like, oh, I know this place in Oxford, and we ended up just going there, and there was absolutely not a single person in there. It was me, him, my friend Wade, who you know, and then his girlfriend, and it was just the 4 of us in that whole thing. So it's like that. It's like with those places, it's like hit or miss, right? Like Starbucks Reserve, right? Nobody in there. Then the Wally, the one time we went in Oxford, packed with people. Like all of a sudden, what the hell is like the rave about? So I don't know what that causes that flux of like people. Is it just the specific times? Is it a quick turnaround? Like
I think for
what
coffee
is it?
places, it's a pure time thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Eda and I went. We went Saturday morning, and we got there. I want to say we got there about 8:45.
Yeah.
And we walked right up to the counter and ordered. And I tell you, 5 minutes after we ordered, there was a line all the way
Really?
back to the door.
Jeez.
So timing's everything. But I mean, obviously, I think the morning for that is a rush thing. So if you go probably after 9:30, 10 o'clock, it probably it falls off a cliff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And also going back to the one page thing, like we were talking about, like you just said, like it was like a limited breakfast. I tend to find that those limited breakfast places, only because it has such like a limited menu, all the items on there are so good. Like because
Yes.
they have to take like
They
extra
dial it in
time.
and
Yeah, they
it's-
figure it
yeah.
out. So like there only might be like 4 things that are actually like eatable or like you could eat like as like a meal, but they're really really good. Like,
Yeah, I
and-
mean, no complaints. I mean, like I said, I had a bowl of chai, coconut, something. I mean, yogurt. It doesn't sound like anything, but it was really good actually. And the other guys had avocado toast that looked pretty good. So
yeah, good. Oh, I mean, we for the 50th episode, we just killed probably like 20 minutes talking about
Starbucks. Well, it is one of our favorite.
Yeah, no, it is.
Coffee's
Coffee's our favorite topics.
It's funny though. I mean, because I was laughing because I said I bet you Starbucks. You know how long it probably takes to build one of those stores out, right? So they probably started this process of renting this Empire State Building, the bottom 2 floors of the Empire State Building probably years ago. And I'm only thinking to myself, wow, they probably signed like a 20-year lease for this incredibly expensive space, only to find out that, the legs have been kicked out of people like coming back into the city. And I actually saw a thing on, I think it was Fox Business or something.
You're not wrong though. Like with COVID,
that talked about because of the new world where everybody's working from home. The city of New York is they're anticipating that they're going to have a shortfall of like $12 billion in tax revenue because no one's going into the city anymore. And I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, you can. I mean, you just can see it. It's night and day from just the volume, and there's still a lot of activity, right? It still kind of has that vibe, but there are a lot less people up there.
No, yeah, I could imagine that. It's funny you say that though, because like it also kind of makes you think like the more metropolitan areas, like a city, is kind of having like a fall off maybe, whereas like now, like you said, like the suburban areas or the rural areas where people are working from home. Like, even for you, for example, when we went out to go get coffee, you like to like work from a remote location versus like at your office all the time. Like,
well, you can do that, right?
Right, and like the economy for the local area would probably go up versus the metropolitan area, which is probably going down. I would imagine. Even you said it. You know what I mean? So that's pretty interesting too to think about.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of saw it firsthand. It's funny. I was saying it's only the second time I've been to New York City since I guess kind of COVID let up. And I honestly, I used to. I mean, obviously, a lot of business transacted in New York City proper,
sure.
And now I literally don't have a reason to go up there unless it's sort of a special one-off or something's happening. Like all of the partners and that I used to deal with, none of them are. They still have offices, but their offices have shrunk to basically just being kind of if someone's in town and just needs a place to crash for the afternoon. But there's nobody up there anymore. Everybody is just home office based, or they've moved offices out to the burbs, and it's crazy.
No, I think there's a lot of value in that, and we talked about this a while ago, right when COVID was happening. We talked about this, but I feel like there's a lot of value in those work from home. And I even asked you when we were going up to drop off the clothes. I was like, "How long have you been working from home?" And you were like, "My whole career." I was like,
"Yeah,
you know what I'm like." I feel like there's a lot of value in working from the comfort of your own home. For you, even for someone who says they don't like big crowds, even my past experience working from home and then in person and then now looking for work is like when I was going in for 4 days, 5 days a week. I absolutely hated it. It made me so miserable. I didn't have any time to, do anything. And even it was a short stunt. Like it was like
I mean, I have mixed feelings about this. I mean, I think, especially with like you when you're getting started out, there's a lot of value in going to the office. I hate to say it, right? I mean, I know that your generation doesn't want to do it, and I know the last couple of years have really kind of changed the dynamic of the world we live in, but. Learning and picking up things is very difficult when you are just tossed in your home and told, hey, here's what you need to do and do it without, being able to bounce it off of a coworker who's in a cube next to you who's doing the same thing and, just has different experiences. I mean, there's just so much value that's lost there. I mean, over time, like when you get seasoned and you're obviously been doing it a while. It makes a lot of sense, and it creates a much better working atmosphere for you as an individual. Right. But early on, man, you are missing so much by not doing it. I hate to tell you, you really are.
All right, so I could see both sides of that, but for me personally, and this is my personal experience, so I can't speak on the masses for my generation, right? But I personally grew up on computers, very tech person in general, right?
Yeah.
So picking something up online is very easy. Like if someone were to go and say, hey, hop on a Zoom, I'll teach you how to do X, Y, and Z, I could do that, right? Now, if I get the whole like, oh, you're missing connections and meeting new people, I do understand that part of it.
I mean, it's connections. It's how you interact with people, even if it's virtually. It's also, I mean, what you'll get exposure to as you kind of go through the process, right? Most organizations have these back end systems, and like how do you navigate getting the information from the systems, and typically you'll be like, hey, you've been doing this a while, how do you get XYZ's contact information or something, or how do you farm marketing leads out of the system, right? And that's the kind of shit that you just can't,
I get that.
Then you're like, oh, do I call somebody, or who do I call? Because do I call my coworker? It's just, there's a lot that is also lost.
No, I agree. I think I just had a different experience just based off of maybe the office that I was in, because I even felt like if I asked too much in person, it was like, oh, this is a pain in the ass for someone else to kind of pick up the responsibility of. So it's like, maybe it's just with my personal experience, because I feel like Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm more productive at home, but they're just for me. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean, you also have to keep in mind there are people that adapt to it really well and can be productive.
But then there's people who
But then
can't
there's
do it,
also
right.
people who, if they don't have someone telling them what to do, can't. And putting them at home is actually a recipe for disaster because they get distracted or sidetracked on personal shit. And so as much as that productivity you think is occurring, it's not.
No, fair
Right.
enough.
So it's a mixed picture. Some people can do it, others can't. And I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, look.
Pros and cons to everything, man. I mean, I feel like if you can't give like a blanket statement. Like I can't speak on behalf of the masses, right? Like it's just like personal, individual. So if you're someone who can do it, I just personally, in my personal opinion, I just like the flexibility of being able to work from home. Like you said, you could go out to a coffee shop, work from there, or stay at your house, work from there, and then you don't have to beat traffic at 5 o'clock, sit in traffic for an hour. You know what I mean? So I think that aspect of it has a lot, like those pros outweigh the cons by, I feel like 10x in my opinion.
Yep.
So I don't know, but I wanted to talk to you about two things, kind of on the streaming side of things. I know you're kind of like not familiar, but like, so Twitch is a platform obviously where you live stream, yada yada yada. They've been really hunkering down on kind of like the YouTube stuff where they're hunkering down on their ads lately. So like they're really strict on what people are starting to put out as far as their content and everything goes, right? There's a new platform up and coming by a company called Kick. Now, they're the complete opposite. It's kind of like how YouTube had Rumble, right? They're two complete opposite ends. YouTube's very, like, monetization heavy, make sure you're kind of staying in the lines. Twitch is now coming into that whole thing. They're realizing that advertisers are starting to pull out. If they see something crazy, if they have people who are previously banned on the website, they're not allowed to do it. Kick's coming around. It's a startup by a former Twitch personality. His name's Trainwrecks, and another guy, Eddie, who started the stake gambling website. Now, on this platform, it's quite literally like the wild, wild west of the internet.
Yep.
Like, you could go on there. You could play games. Like, my friend streams on there. I personally, I don't have access to it unless I go on, like, a VPN on my phone because my internet provider looked at it as not safe or some shit like that.
So that's the other problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless it's on their... I mean, that's the issue that I guess Parler had when they were coming around is... Even though they were kind of an alternative to YouTube, they were running on AWS and Microsoft Azure, and
you can't. Your internet, some internets would block it out.
So yeah, the AWS basically just killed them. And said, "Hey, you can't run on our platform," and they're screwed. So
that's what this platform is. And my friend who streams on there, like I'll have to go on my phone or disconnect from my internet, go on the LTE, and watch his streams. But apparently, he said that there was like. I'll call it prawn, but you could reword the words there, re-letter the words. I don't want to say it to get like demonetized or whatever. Obviously, make no money on it, but I don't want to get taken down. But there was literally that on the website. So it's like you could just be casually scrolling through looking for games, and then someone's literally like looking at like, on the thing. So it can have that crazy extreme. Now with that crazy extreme though comes the freedom that we kind of just talked about with working from home, where you could, watch, like someone was literally watching the Super Bowl like while on Twitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
or on Kick.
So
sorry,
you can't do that. But I mean,
he was though, because it's
I know,
and they were watching.
Well, so that's going to get shut down then. I mean, look, you have to have some rules, right? I mean, look, the freedom of speech thing is very important, but I mean that's blatant stealing, right? It's either blatant stealing or that's just content that should not be like easily accessible without having to go through some sort of step to ensure like 4-year-olds aren't watching it. I mean, come on.
So that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, where do you have that kind of bottom line, or where do you have that, like, how do you monitor something that's promoted as not being monitored, right? Like, how do you have that platform but also kind of have it focus on a general niche versus just having it be the wild, wild west,
if
right?
it's copyrighted or IP protected, right, which the
NFL is.
The big game is, and right, I'm not allowed to say whatever. But I mean, right, I mean, so those kinds of things. And look, I have watched my share of pirated, sporting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
Right, so I mean, look,
come in here, and bust the door down.
I'm sure they got better things to do than bust me for my 4 times a year that I do it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean that shit should be protected, right? You just can't do that, right?
No, fair enough. I just don't know where you could how because these are the same guys that it's backed by the powerhouse that is.
I mean,
Stake,
look, Rumble,
right?
Rumble's kind of got it dialed in, right? It's the typical things you would think of, right? You can't you can't watch pornographic stuff, right? You can't incite violence. It's just the typical the rules, the general rules of society.
Oh, so they do have the rules though.
There's certain things you can't. They won't let you do, right? I mean, and I don't, there's. I don't know how heavily they enforce it. I mean, I'm sure they do because you don't see it, right? So, I mean, if you don't, this is what happens, right? You get the Wild Wild West, and they're going to get shut down. I mean, that's just going to get. Yeah. Come on. I mean,
because it's by the same company that had the stake gambling. So it's the guy that made the stake website, which is like the crypto betting that is like unregulated betting.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen either, right? The government's going to hammer on that shit.
So that's been around. I think it was before stake. It was Rue betting, and then Rue betting turned into stake. Now stake's been around because they fixed the ruling a little bit, and then now it's just like constant loopholes that they have to jump through. But now. Stake's supporting this new platform called Kick, and now it's like you go on there. Excuse me. And the top watch things is like it's literally gambling, and then you have like the breakdown of like other games, and then it's like obviously like the one category is just called just chatting, which is just like people like us going on there like doing this type of content. But I just kind of wanted your take on that. But it's definitely interesting to see. Like I see a lot of the free speech kind of platforms rising, but does that rise have a ceiling for them? Because it's supposed to be like the potential is unlimited, but how far does it go until someone steps in, aka like the government or something, and say, all right, this can't go. We're drawing the line in the sand here. You can't do that no more.
I mean, it's a mess. Let's just face facts. The internet's ruined the world.
Oh God.
No, God. I mean, it's a mess. I mean, I
So the last time that we talked too, I realized we haven't talked about it, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole the balloon diversion versus like there was apparently like the whole alien thing, but the reason that they put those pictures out is because the Jeffrey Epstein documents got leaked. What do you think about that?
I didn't even know the Jeffrey Epstein documents got leaked. So what were those?
So apparently, I got
it.
So apparently, there's like a thing going around that apparently like the book of whatever, like there was like a previous
this fake
book
news that we're going to get banned for now.
I mean, I don't know. It's a conversation point, but there was a book that had like everyone like the flight logs or whatever.
Yeah, it's Black Book. I know.
But apparently more of that like detailed stuff, maybe pictures of like political figures came out recently, but it came out around the same time that the alien Chinese balloon thing came out, and people were saying that the balloon was a distraction from the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And I was like,
probably some truth to that.
I wonder if there's some truth, because I personally haven't seen any of the other stuff, but I just heard about it and I was like, wow, that could be very much true.
That whole balloon thing is just, well, anyway, we're politics. You love to try and entice me with politics.
Well, no, I want to hear what you said.
More importantly,
about the aliens.
Are you watching? Have you watched The Last of Us on HBO?
No, I've heard about the game, but I never watched it.
So, it's another one of these like zombie movies.
Right.
Even though there aren't really a lot of zombies.
The
game. The game. Right.
One of the game.
It's not really zombies. It's like I don't know, some sort of plant virus or some shit takes over your body. And but anyway, so it's an apocalyptic kind of thing. And the thing that was interesting is I was watching it yesterday and I was thinking to myself, if this ever really happens,
oh God,
I think that these shows have conditioned us that we just immediately assume the worst of humanity. And like if the world goes to shit, right? I can't trust anybody. I can't trust the neighbors that I've lived across the street from for 20 years, right? I should just shoot them because, I mean, they're all bad people, right?
Okay.
Everybody's evil.
I'm
thinking to myself, holy shit, if this really ever happened, like, what would your trust level be for people, even if you knew them? Because it's everybody's conditioned that everybody's bad or eventually turns bad or, is self-serving. And it's like... I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's interesting because we kind of like didn't see it, but we kind of got a flash. You know where I'm going with this, right? Like 2 years ago with the whole COVID thing, everyone kind of just stayed in their house, right? Like no one was really going out. I think it'd be the same thing. Like there was no gallons of water on the shelves, but there was no riots, right? Like there was a point.
But I mean, if that shit really literally shut off.
If things were to come out and like it was like a break, like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. I feel like there would be some unity. I feel like the people that wanted it to be anarchy would cause the anarchy, but the people who wanted it to be to have everything unified, there would be a unity of it. I feel like it's just the people who are seeking chaos, like the people who, I don't know, like if there was someone that really wanted to do something that are like borderline breaking the laws now, they would continue to do so just on a more like, oh, who's gonna stop us? Like, you know what I mean? But the people like your neighbors, I feel like you would have some sort of community and trust and everything like that. Who knows? You guys even might build like a blockade at the end of the day.
I know. I mean, I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, God, I wonder what the world would really be like if it went to shit, and how people would just would it really be like the shows where. Like a large percentage of the population was just self-interest and just
so let's say boom, zombie apocalypse happens or some sort of apocalypse happens. It breaks on the news while we're doing this podcast. What's the first thing that you're doing? Literally right now. Are you calling your mom? Are you like, what are you doing?
Oh God, I don't even. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess family first, right?
Sounded like a very generic answer.
It is. Who the hell knows, right? I mean, I think that. I mean, it's funny. Like I watch some of these shows when I'm like traveling, and I'm like,
oh my God, I would do this differently.
Well, I'm like, no, but I'm like, shit. If I'm in like St. Louis, which I'm going to be like later this week, I'm going to be in St. Louis, like Wednesday and Thursday, and I'm like, if I'm in St. Louis and the world goes to shit, like. What do I do, right? How do I get back to? I mean, am I, like, do I start walking back to Pennsylvania? I mean, honestly, like you think about these things, and I'm like, wow, it's kind of deep. Where I'm like, what do you do? Because I mean, obviously, I'd want to get back to the family and stuff like that, and I'm like, but how do you do it?
Next thing you know, I'm going to see Joe. He's going to have a remote on his phone where like the metal doors are going to start going down on the window from the Amazon Vine program. They're going to sponsor you. It's like.
It's just kind of interesting because that was another one of these zombie apocalypse things, and I was just like, man.
Yeah, I think in that situation, the best thing to do would literally be to like form like some sort of like group, like just like, all right, hey, get everyone's families together, come to a general location.
Yeah, well, that's what happens in all of them.
Yeah, and then just like kind of
some counter group attacks them.
You better hope you're either good at negotiating or fighting back.
Make sure that you got all the guns, and it's just like, okay, so we're back to square one with the world, right?
Fair enough.
The man with the most guns wins, right? I mean, it's just it's a wild concept because I'm like, humanity is always interesting to me. I'm like, I kind of miss my calling. I should have been like a psychology or philosophy major because I always said that if I was back in college, like I'd like to go and become like a doctorate just on how people act at the airport, right? I mean,
you say that,
because it's just it's a testament to humanity just watching people act at it, like in an airport or something like that, or
like a 3-seat
either that or just going up to the counter and just ripping into some gate agent who's just doing their job and has no control over whether the plane comes in or out, and they just rip into them because they have to vent to somebody, and it's like. Dude, you do realize you're ripping into somebody who just has absolutely no control over it, right? Occasionally they might be dicks about something, but I'm generally speaking, these people just attack these people. I'm like, they're just doing their job, right? They're delivering the bad news, right? That's all they are, right?
No, it's listen, right? Like it goes both ways. Like I feel like,
or they'll kill each other to get in. Like when you board a plane, right? They do it by groups, right? So group 1, group 2. I'm usually group 3 or 4. But I just laugh at people like they will run your ass over to get on that plane when 10 seconds before I'm going to get on that plane.
And it's usually assigned seats, no? So it's like, why are we
assigned seats? But I don't know what it is. It's perception, right? I got to get on this plane. I got to be first on the plane.
See, I think,
and I'm looking and I'm like, dude, feel free, jump in front of me.
That's what I said.
I mean, like you're gonna get on the plane 10 seconds before me. What is, holy shit, really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I know people are like, well, I have my bag and I want to make sure there's space for it. And it's like, well, unless you're group 7 or one of the very end people, you're getting your bag on these planes, right? So I mean. I don't know. It's just crazy. I just shake my head and go, "What the hell is wrong with people?"
I don't know. I think
chill. Everybody's
that's fair.
Stressed out.
I think the whole plane. Okay, this might sound fucking crazy to me, right? Listen, but bear with me here because we're talking about planes. Planes are weird because they won't let you bring on certain baggage. Okay, actually, I'm not even gonna go. No, I'm not even gonna go there because I'm gonna say something fucking crazy. Never mind. We're gonna
That's what I'm talking about. See what I mean?
I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful.
Airports bring out the best in people.
Yeah. So, are you traveling to Ohio anytime soon? Because if so, don't, because there's like a big chemical rain going on.
I hear you, and I am going to Columbus on the 9th and 10th.
Well, those zombies you were talking about, buddy, you're the first to go. So
I'm going. Well, I mean, it's on the other the other side of the state. It's a crazy shit ass situation too, man.
Yeah, it's like a train with a bunch of like chemicals that make like PVC pipe.
Highly toxic, crashes.
It crashed and it went to the water, and now it's going to the sky.
I guess it's very explosive, so they blew it up intentionally and kind of a lot of it just doesn't sound kosher. I mean, who knows what the hell's really going on?
Or it's a distraction to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein documents.
And they show those pictures of like the streams and shit with all the oil slicks and freaking acid burn. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a bad situation.
Clips, like one news reporter threw a rock into like a lake or something like that, and then the lake started bubbling up and fizzing.
Well,
and then another one with
for
a coffee.
Full disclosure, I've heard multiple stories on all this shit, right? And you don't know what this is the problem. You don't know what the hell the truth is, right? I've heard that like all the dead fish and all that oil slick shit, those are. That actually happened, but it happened in very, very close proximity where the train derailed, which would be expected, regardless of what the government did with blowing it up. Right? You would expect that. Okay, the shit gets into some of those little local streams and it kills some local wildlife. That happens, right? It's not widespread. It's kind of isolated and contained. But then others are saying that shit's all over the place, and then they you see the mushroom cloud with all the smoke and stuff like that. So who the hell knows, man? I feel for the people that are there, though. I mean,
it's fucked up because I was gonna say the second video was like guys like us just drinking coffee, and he put milk in the coffee because the water was like I guess they filter some of the water, and it was bubbling too.
Yeah, well, that's not good.
Yes, and then you see that, and then it's like, how can you shower at that point? Like, where do you go to? Like, water's in everything that you consume on a daily basis. You have to consume like your body weight in ounces of water per day. So, like, how are you supposed to do that if all the water's fucked? I feel like that's like a situation where you would think that they would have a plan for it, but then what actually happens, they're like, let's blow it up and see, it kind of gets turned sideways.
I mean, again, you don't know if it's Twitter. You start to see all these videos of infrastructure that's collapsing. Yep. They had this one picture, our video I saw of this freight train going down a track where the track looked like it had just kind of survived a massive earthquake where it's all like wavy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and you see the train, and the train is like literally going up and down and sideways on this like totally warped track system. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit, is that like, I mean, and
that's probably the original tracks from the 1800s.
The train's coming, and I'm like, it's not video or photoshopped. Like some of them make them, well, maybe that's just some dilapidated bridge that they photoshopped the train on just for the effect. But this was a video, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of bad.
I mean, they probably didn't update the train, that railroad, since the guys that first were doing it back in the 1800s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, who knows, man?
Or the 1900s, whenever it came out.
But anyway, that shit's a mess.
Yeah, quite literally.
Hey, so I wanted to talk about this a couple of weeks ago because I saw it, but one of our other favorite topics is Yeezy or Yee, and we haven't. He hasn't been in the news, and at least I haven't seen shit on him in like the last couple of months.
I've seen something. I think this week. I think Adidas was going to inquire about maybe bringing him back on.
Well, so that's what triggered it, right?
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was before the Super Bowl. I saw this thing about how Adidas put out this announcement that they were losing like $250 million.
I thought it was more. I thought it was more than that.
It might have been, right? It was, but they were like, it was really weird. Like you kind of knew, like they said he was 8% of their total revenue, which is a shitload in one creator, right?
I'll kind of look it up.
And then they said that I guess they also blame Beyonce because I guess her blue bullshit that no one wants to buy because it's all freaking garbage, right? Was on the list as well that I guess they invented. But the thing was, they were talking about. I guess they have a whole bunch of Yeezy inventory.
Yeah.
That they're basically going to destroy because I'm like, put it out, I'll buy it still. Right? I don't give a shit. Sell it.
I think it'll make it more rare. So that's the one that I seen. I don't know how accurate that one is, but it said
I didn't hear anything about them wanting to bring them back.
Yeah,
but,
so
I mean, I could imagine because they're getting crushed.
yeah. So there was this article, and it said Adidas is allegedly attempting to bring Kanye and the Yeezy brand back after the partnership is losing over $1.3 billion. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a lot of money right there. But what does that mean for Adidas? Like they were talking all this shit, and then now they're trying to bring it back on.
As a consumer who obviously spent a shitload of money when he was around, I have not. I don't even think I've gone on the Adidas app where
Right.
I was going on like every freaking day or
Sure,
other
try
day.
to see something. Yeah.
I haven't bought shit from him, and I have no. And the couple times that I have gone on, I'm like, this shit's garbage. Like, what the hell is this shit,
Yeah.
right? Or
I'm trying to think. There hasn't really been any like sneaker news besides those big red boots. That I don't know if you've seen those going around.
I don't know, man. There's all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't work for me. The Yee thing was kind of cool.
Kind of the
and-
coolest thing out of it. Right?
And it's not because of him; it was because the shoes were cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and all I heard was they were going to repurpose the shoes.
They looked good and they were comfortable.
right.
and
I
it's a
mean, I
deadly
still wear my
combo.
black ones,
Yeah.
and people still comment every once in a while. But I'm like, I thought that the whole thing was they were just going to take his name off of
Yeah.
it and re-release him under some other,
Like
or
a
name
partnership
or
or
something like that.
line,
And they
yeah,
haven't
right.
done any of that. So I'm like, and then I was reading this article, and they're talking about how they're losing money hand over fist because of dumping them, and that they had inventory in the pipeline that was built, and they're just going to burn it. Like, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with these people?
That's quite an interesting. That's a quite interesting like series of events. You lose money because you drop them. You lose money because you have them. It's you lose.
Well, they
money.
weren't losing money with them. Even
don't
when
think
he
so?
went batshit crazy, they weren't losing money. People were still buying that shit.
Damn.
Because
That's
again,
it,
I mean,
yeah.
honestly,
Well, at first they said they were going to release it without his name, so I'm confused where that went.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it was legally, they couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that might have been part of the
Well,
separation
then
thing.
didn't his lawyers drop him or something too? Like they put like a hit
Yeah,
piece
but
out.
there's
on him?
always a fucking lawyer out there who's going to take his case, right?
Yeah.
So
His
I mean,
lawyers were like, "Oh,
one
we
high
don't
power
wanna know."
drops him, and another high power picks him up because it's
Yeah.
it's lawyer money.
That's
but-
fair. Yeah, I mean, it's really like weird. The whole like fashion thing, it has really good like it's like crypto. It has these waves. All of a sudden, like you'll have the Kanyes, you'll have the Virgils, you'll have the Pharrells that just start cultivating the culture, start flooding it year like 2016, 17, 18. Huge years for it. It kind of came back in 2020, like over the COVID pandemic thing when you were saying like, oh my God, they're restocking it all the time. And then now it's kind of just sizzled down. Like there's nothing in the fashion or clothing world that really like excites me personally. At least it sounds like the same with you. It's like there's no reason to get on these apps. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how that goes. But yeah, as far as that topic goes, who knows where his future is with that type of stuff? Because if you see, like obviously Rihanna was performing, she performed one of his songs, "All of the Lights." That's Kanye's song, and people were kind of like throwing up or like saying like, "Oh, is he gonna come out? Is that controversial or whatever?" But who knows? You know, I thought she did good too. By the way, she was all right. She was very mid, very very mid. It was like not bad, not good. Like it was like good. You know, it was average.
It
I
was,
feel like.
yeah, whatever.
For like performing in front of that many people, it's you know, it's you gotta have some talent to do that.
I mean, I didn't even really watch it.
I fuck with Rihanna.
shit. Who cares? But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the Yeezy thing's kind of weird, though. I mean, he has been sort of out of the news, so maybe he's getting his, maybe he's finally getting some medical attention to deal with his personality challenges, right? I mean, I hope so. I mean, because he clearly was like off the rails. So
Yeah,
maybe
I don't know.
somebody finally got a hold of him and said, "Dude, time out. Take a
Yeah.
tea, baby. This is your moment. Take a tea."
I think he needed to just like kind of get pulled back into reality. And it's funny too because like he was every time that he would argue with someone, his whole thing was like they're not smarter than me or they don't have as much money as me. So
Oh,
it's like
no,
you know
it's-
it's kind of like a toxic way to kind of look at it. We were trying to. I briefly brought it up, but I don't know if you've noticed, but the crypto thing started coming back around recently.
Yeah, so that was like a 1-day spike. It had been hovering around 18 to 20K forever, and then I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago it spiked like $4,000.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So
And I don't know why. I mean, I know what it was. Was that when we were talking about this? Was there was this rumor that the U.S. government paid.
oh yeah, it's some debt or something.
Yeah,
like that.
paid a ransom, and they were doing it in Bitcoin, and that's the reason why it spiked. What was that for, though? I'm trying to remember. The FAA thing when they shut down the airlines for the day. The rumor was it wasn't a software outage; it was actually hackers who compromised the system, and the U.S. government had to pay them in Bitcoin, and that's what happened.
That could be the reason, but like
because they're like, why did it spike $5,000?
So now,
in like a day.
So January, as far as January or December 31st goes, it was at Bitcoin. We'll talk about because that's like the universal one.
Yeah,
it was at 16,500. As of today, it sits at just below 25,000 at 24,934,
which is nice.
It's really good, yeah. So good gains. And you know, it's weird because like you said, like it was kind of like a day that it really shot up, and then everything seemed to kind of go up. Like it goes like the too big, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then the smaller guys kind of follow it, and then now it's just kind of all kind of seemed as like a very steady pace. Even like in my personal thing, I got a notification. It was like, this is up 15%. I look at my wallet, and I'm like, holy shit, I forgot about this. Thank God.
Has Ethereum sort of matched that same elevation? Because
so let's take a look.
Like there is some merit to the fact that if Bitcoin kind of spiked like in a short period of time, that it's just someone buying massive amounts, and if nothing else is following suit, it's basically it gives it some credibility.
Yeah, no. So as far as December 31st goes, Bitcoin or Ethereum was at 1195. Today it sits at 1709.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of going the same way.
Yeah, so it's definitely going up, but that's nothing compared to like a year ago when it was
but I mean it's
3581, right?
Obviously starting to mature and people are kind of more in tune with it, but it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious about like I still have like part of me that's, you know, it's like, oh, this could be the future of things, and then the other part of me is like, it goes up in seasons and it goes down in seasons, and when it goes down, you're gaining, you know, like 50% when it's at its all-time high, right? In some instances, but when it goes down, you're losing like 80%, 90%. It goes to complete, like, you know, it goes down.
I mean,
a lot.
like obviously, the one time I bought Bitcoin, I know what I paid. I paid $67,000 for it, right? I only bought $100 of it, but I bought It was $67,000. I'm like, I'm never gonna. You'll never ever get that money back.
Oh my god!
Like unless you've got some serious patience, right? But that's money that's gone forever.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know what the value, like I don't know what that could be in the future, because I like, as far as we know, like we can't, obviously this might get clipped in the future and be like, look how dumb, but like, can you really see them getting rid of every single fiat currency and just, you know, not using it anymore in the future ever? There could be a future where that's a thing, right? But
there's no fiat currency and it's
like,
all digital.
Yeah, all digital.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like what? I
mean, it'll be fiat digital, right?
Fiat digital, sure. But as far
that's
as
going to
like,
happen, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any rumors. It might not happen overnight, but that's going to happen.
Yeah, I would say like
guaranteed that happens.
Now, what do you think your timeline on that is?
I don't know.
Because when I think about that, you think of like, when was like the last time that they implemented a huge change into currency, right? Like, as far as I could remember, I mean, it's always been the dollar.
In some respects, it's kind of almost happened already. I mean, who the hell carries cash anymore?
People who get paid in cash or under the table workers.
But that's got to be getting thin. I mean,
sure.
I bet you even a lot of those people are now getting they're probably
Everyone's
getting their
like
money in Cash App or Venmo, which is the reason why they were trying to ding that, because they know that it's transacting digitally.
Yeah.
No one carries cash, man.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, I can't remember. Like we were having this conversation. It's got to hurt some industries, like the hotel industry, right? When I go to a hotel and I'm there for a couple of days, in the past I would whatever change I had in my pocket, I would throw on the thing for the housekeeping, right?
Oh, really?
I don't carry cash ever, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't left a tip for housekeeping in I can't remember how many travel trips, and I feel bad about it, but I'm like, at the same time, I don't carry cash anymore. I never carry cash anywhere.
I think that's actually a good point, because when you're working at like a job where you're on like a W-2, even at where like from what I remember, like what would they give you? Just a check? Like even they wouldn't even give you cash.
Give you a check.
Yeah, and you would have to literally go like you would just put it directly in your bank account. So like that whole interaction of like, all right, come in my office, I'll pay you my cash. Like that's not been around in like how many years? You know what I mean?
No, I mean no. But they would give you a check, and
you would just
some
cash
places
it out,
would,
right?
you could literally just cash it right there with them. But I mean, Yeah, it's just so. I mean, it's the conversion's already occurring. We just don't know it, or we pretend it's not, but it is.
I feel bad about leaving tip on card too. That's another thing. I kind of feel. I'm like, I wish I could just give you cash. Like, I wish I could give you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then there's a whole underground movement, I guess, to start paying servers, cash tips because the government's now trying to ding everything, and I'm like, I get it, but I mean, I'm just not carrying
You
cash.
just reminded me of something I wanted to talk about, and this will be I don't want to spend too much time, but I'm curious to hear your opinion on it. When I went out to eat the night that we went to Manayunk for that whole thing with Tracy,
the haunted house bullshit thing.
We ate at a restaurant, and the gratuity was included into the tip. Now I know that's not an uncommon thing to hear.
How big was the party?
Me, Taylor, and Kevin were on one check. So it was me, Kevin, and Taylor on a 3-party tip, and then it was Tracy, Mario, and Mikey on another. So it was a party of 6, but it was 3 individual, 3 on 3.
So I will say that I have seen that.
So I want to hear your take on what do you think that should be a standardized thing, or do you think it should be do it the old-fashioned way? Because in Europe, from what I understand, their salaries included. So you don't tip in Europe. It's it's included into the bill.
It's a shell game, right? So you're paying more for the food. So
right.
Look, actually now that I'm thinking about it, there was 4 of us at this Starbucks thing. They put a 20% gratuity on it automatically.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And that means no tip afterwards, or if you want, you can at the end.
If you want to put more on it. Actually, no. They literally. So I handed the credit card to them. They came back and handed me the receipt, and there was no opportunity for me to add any additional tip.
Oh shit!
Right, which I think is unusual. Typically,
most places you can though.
Yeah, and most restaurants that I've seen, if it's a party of typically 6 to 8 or more, they put an automatic gratuity on it.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Are you in? I should say this. Are you in favor of adding it on the tip? Or are you not in favor? If you were to have a personal preference, because for me personally, I'll say, I think it should be included, just because obviously I went to restaurants with people and they'll leave a dog shit tip, and I know my mom who works off of tips and Taylor who used to work off of tips.
That totally sucks.
You know what I mean? It fucking sucks because you bust your ass, right? And these guys are giving you cents or even dollars or even no tip at all. They end up stiffing you, and in some cases, I know my buddy Mel, who lives down in West Virginia, his girlfriend, when people would not pay for their bill, she would have to pay for their food.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sucks.
Yes. So
no,
I swear to God. Yeah, so the mom and pop restaurant, they would actually make her pay for the food because it's hey, this is your responsibility. Our business is losing money. You have to pay for their food now. So
yeah, that's horseshit.
I'm in favor of it just being included onto the bill. If you want to add an extra tip, it's not even required. It's not even all right, if you do that, it's out of the gracious of your own heart. But yeah.
So I mean, obviously, I have been doing this a very long time, and I have never not left a tip.
Yeah, good.
Ever, right?
Good.
Even if the shit goes sideways or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times people. This is the airport mentality. People can't see past sometimes that it's not the server who's the issue, right?
It could be the kitchen.
You're gonna trash the server because
the food's
some
bad.
dumbass. You don't know what happened, right? Your food is late to the table because somebody accidentally tripped and dropped your food plate and they had to redo it, right? Yeah. And instead of maybe coming out and telling you, "Hey, sorry, we had an accident in the kitchen. We're remaking your thing," but you just don't know, and people go batshit crazy, and they take it out on the wrong person. And tipping is, I guess, one of those things where that could be taken out on the wrong person. Yeah. I mean, I've never had a situation where a server has just been a complete total douchebag that they should be getting 0, right? I mean, usually if you're in that business, you're in it because you've done it before, and you got to put a smile on, and even if you're having a bad day, there's just never been a time where I've ever. I mean, I'm sure people are going to be like, shit, yeah, I've had a situation. And I'm like, it happens, but I mean,
happens. I've definitely had an experience.
Super, super rare.
I've definitely had an experience with a bad waitress or waiter, but I've definitely also had the opposite where, for Valentine's Day, me and Taylor spot Fogo de Chao yet again. And the guy that he knows us there.
You never get tired of that
No,
place.
I love that place so much. He knows us because he recognized us, and he always comes over, always makes a conversation. But he's doing it obviously because he's wants a good tip. But that I don't know. I just feel like it makes the difference when you have a good waiter. I was watching the movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper. Did you ever see that? It came out like 2015.
No, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like even to those details of like the waiters would measure how far apart the forks and shit are from one another. You know, so like I feel like just going that little extra mile makes a huge difference for the waitress. But I think it should be included into the tip. We kind of digressed from the conversation, but. Yeah, I think so. 28, add that thing onto the bill. We're good to go.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with it being added.
Yeah.
I mean, it just saves me the trouble of having to calculate the 20%, which is not too difficult. But it's funny. I mean, there are times where I would leave more than 20%, and if it's baked in, they're actually cheating themselves. So there's probably pros and cons to it.
Inverse, where it's like
I mean, there's probably more people that do 15 or 10%, which is just. I mean, I'm like you said, it's a service business. So you just got to remember these people are actually getting paid lower than minimum wage.
Yeah, that is.
So they live and die by tips, and it's part of the game. And just put it in there, man. The people deserve it.
Sure.
Oh man,
I feel like it's a good period point to end on there.
Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta bounce. But real quick, do we want to talk about upcoming clothing drop that's hopefully coming, and then we'll close out with that.
I'll let you talk about what we did last Friday. Was it last Friday?
Yeah, we got. So I mean, we dropped some clothes off at the
menu.
The I say printer, but we're actually getting embroidery. I think on some of it.
Yeah.
So
new suits coming soon. Not suits, sweatsuits.
Suits, sweatpants and hoodies and tees. We hopefully will have those up and out in the next, say,
2 weeks or so.
I think we're shooting. Well, I know we kind of said March 15th was the cutoff date, but hopefully even sooner than that. So look for that. We got some new wares coming. It will include some stuff that's got embroidery, which obviously is a whole level above.
Yeah, embroidery you can't go wrong with. Like you could wash it a million times, and the clothing itself would disintegrate probably before the embroidering, just because it's how great it is. But yeah, we got that. We got a top and bottom, like Joe said. It's going to be a red top with black stitching, black pants with red. Top. Yes. Yeah, I said that right. Black pants with red stitching, and then we got a long sleeve T-shirt, obviously, or long sleeve shirt. I don't like calling it a T-shirt. It throws it off. It's nice. It got a front and back design to it.
Yep.
Got our signature blue on there, or Tiffany blue, but exclusive Minds blue on there.
It's not Tiffany blue.
Yeah,
it's exclusive Minds blue.
But yeah, it looks good. So make sure to check up on our social medias, just because whenever we're putting stuff out, or even like throughout the off season, I think 2023 for us, at least, we kind of looked at it as like kind of like the year of content for us. Like we've been trying to make as much content as possible.
Shorts. We've been doing
shorts, anything. So just trying to put that out there. You're uploading it. It's all that matters, and the podcast. So
yeah.
I think a big alley that we're missing, and we could probably talk about this next week, is just even maybe clipping these podcasts, like entertaining conversations of like, oh, the whole Starbucks thing, if we have a coffee niche, and clip those and upload it. I feel like there's a missing market there, but nonetheless, coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, it was a good conversation.
Cool. All right. We're out.
Episode 50 in the bag.
We should be back next weekend for the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight.
Yep.
We have a party here for his 90th birthday, so we'll have the crew here,
90
and
years. Wow.
I think we'll obviously find some time to catch the Jake Paul fight, and I'm thinking Tommy Fury's going to win, but we'll see, man. So
I got Jake.
We'll find out next week.
Peace.
Catch y'all later. Bye.
You taking Tommy Fury, man?